So here we are in what would be January 2022. I'm scheduled to have the surgery, I think it was the end of Jan, something like that. And I turned around and said to Andrew, like, are you absolutely sure there's no other option? What's this electric therapy that you mentioned at one point and then dropped? And he went, don't do it. He went, don't do it. It's so painful. Don't do it. He said, have the surgery. And I was like, yeah, but the surgery means I can't drive, and then I can't do the school runs, and I'm supposed to be opening this new business, and how am I going to do any of that? So I talked myself out of it, and I talked him out of it. And he warned me, and he said, if it was my choice, he said, if someone was doing this to me, I wouldn't let them do it. It hurts. It really hurts. Well, he's right. Okay, he was all right. He was 100% right. Andrew was 100% right. I'll put my hands up now and say that having had 2 children, naturally, someone has invented something that is equal to childbirth. Luckily, it only lasts 15 minutes. And luckily, I came up with a way of handling it, which I've since been told is somewhat unique. So for those of you who are considering painful procedures, I will enlighten you with what I will have to find politely the 5 F's of pain management. So I had my first treatment and it really, really hurt. And I went in for my second treatment, but you see, you could drive yourself away from the treatment. So that was what was such a benefit to this. Went in for the second treatment. And Andrew said to me, I have to ask, he's like, how did you handle that, as well as you did? He said, is it that magic rock you've got? Because at this point, I had taken a piece of smoky quartz. So my power stone, my favorite one that I thrive off, you've got this, you're grounded, you're solid crystal, right? So I had this lovely, absolutely gorgeous smoky quartz palm stone with me that I held through both procedures. I used it to do some breathing exercises beforehand to lower my heart rate, to get myself prepared before he did the procedure. So yes, I absolutely think that all helped. But so did, as I then admitted to him, well, actually, Andrew, and he's the one who coined it, the 5 F's of pain management, by the way. I said, I've actually given myself a rule. So he said, what's that? I said, well, I'm only allowed to say the F word 5 times. He said, what? I said, I'm only allowed to say it 5 times. So when it's really, really, really painful, I have to think to myself, is this worth wasting one of my F's on, or is it going to get worse? Am I absolutely sure that this is so horrendously painful that it's worth spending one of the 5 on it? And he fell about laughing. He went, I've never heard anyone. He says, I've treated, Russian oligarchs who've never even flinched. He says, but I've never, ever heard of anyone doing that before. He said, how many did you get to in the first treatment? I said, well, I got to 4. I said, but I was so cross with myself. So he said, why? I said, well, because one bit was so sore, I went, and I wasted 3 in one go. And I spent the rest of the treatment being so cross with myself because I only had 1 to spare. Anyway, the second treatment, I only used 3. And on the final treatment, I think I used 3 or 4 again. But I came under that 5 limit. And I think that's, for me, was a real learning curve. It was like, okay, so even pain is something I can take control of. I can set a limit and I can take control. And that was really important for me. And I kind of did the same thing with childbirth. I just hadn't realized. I told myself that, there would only be X number of contractions. At some point, the baby's going to be born. Right, so at some point, someone's going to call time on it, right? You're not in labor for months. At some point, someone's going to say, okay, either this isn't working and we're going to do a C-section, or it is working and then it's finished. So I went in going, there is a finite amount of time I'm going to be in pain. And this was a similar thing. I gave myself a finite number of F's that I could use. That worked brilliantly, and that treatment gave me about, I would say, another 12 months pain-free. But I came to realize really in January 2023 just how much I've been limiting how I live because of my ankle, and that can be your next one.